Reaching all the way back to 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition. Here is your host of Fate Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, coming to you here on KUNX Digital Broadcasting. Here on the X, we have some of the most fun and the best shows. So I'm so glad to be here. And you know, the fun thing is that I have one of my best friends joining me tonight. Now, you know him. You've seen him everywhere. He is the founder of Hollywood Ghosthunters. He wrote the 2021 book of the Paranormal Book of the Year. Oh, my goodness. There we go. Lost my mind. But at any rate, he also has written The Spirits Are Out There, which is his newest book. He's got another one coming out. And Rick, please tell people the name of your first book.
Ghosts Believe in Me.
That's right. I should only know that. I wrote the foreword and did the video for that. But at any rate, sorry. But this is my friend, Rick McCallum, who is, thank heavens, one of the nicest men I know. Rick, thank you for saving me. I'm so glad you're here.
All I got to say is if I'm one of the nicest people you know, you need to get out more.
Not even. Good effort, though. Put those people off. No, seriously. I mean, we have known each other for a few years now. We have enjoyed each other's company. When we first met at Scarefest, it was like we had known each other forever. When I was out, well, you came here when both of us could have auditioned and gotten great parts on Walking Dead. We went to the distillery, Short River Distillery in Tennessee, and then you came out for one of Ronnie's events at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, also in Tennessee. And then I missed you, but we still talked and got some great stuff happening at Old Potting Jail and then Scotland. So I'd say in the length of our friendship, we've gotten to do a lot more investigating than a lot of our other friends with us. So I think that's kind of fun.
Oh, I do too. I do too. And the thing that's really fun is you're like a really good ghost hunter. So I'm always happy to have that. Well,
ditto. But we really have complementary styles, so that makes it even more fun. So
that is true.
And sometimes I'm a little bit more aggressive than you are, and they just love you. I get name called sometimes, but not all the time. But you will verify that they like me at Paulding.
Can I tell them what happened at Paulding?
Yeah, you can.
I was there at Old Paulding Jail, and I was there with Lori Dorsey, and we were kind of bummed that...
and Mikey was there.
Mikey was there, but Mikey wasn't there for that one.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, I thought he would.
No, he was there. But the weird thing was that we were really bummed that you weren't there. So
I was too.
So I came up with something which was the dumbest thing I think I've ever done that turned out to be magic.
It wasn't really dumb. It was just unusual.
Yeah, it was just something nobody else has ever done as far as I've known. And you had told me before about how, the spirits interact with you. Mm-hmm. And I told Lori, I said, Lori, call Kat on the phone. So she called you up, and I said, all right, let's see if we can get the spirits to interact over the phone with Kat. So we started having Kat talk, and I was standing with the phone in my hand with a K2 meter, and Lori had her SLS camera, and we were just, just listening, and I mean, I'll be danged if it didn't just start answering your questions and everything else. It was an amazing thing to see. I mean, I've been around for over 50 years doing the paranormal, and that's one of the most interesting things I've ever seen. I mean, just to see somebody that was that locked in, that connected to some spirits that they could talk to them over the phone.
Oh, they give me shout outs when she does it live from the jail.
Yeah.
I mean, she is the woman who owns the Old Potting Jail, is Shelley Robertson. And she is the host of Ghost Talk Radio. And when she is live from the jail, which is often, if she's not interviewing somebody else, if she is just doing a solo show, or if I happen to be, filling in with her, then I get shout outs over the air sometimes. And that's really neat. So those spirits really do recognize me sometimes. Well, they do recognize me, but it's so funny because
they definitely recognize you. There's no doubt about that.
Well, the main thing is I tell them who I am, because when I found out that y'all were in the cell block area, I was like, hey guys, it's Kat. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there. And I mean, they know I mean that. Those are some very strong spirits in that jail. They're very strong personalities. They're people that worked there for the most part. So,
well, do you remember what else happened there? Evidently, the spirits were starting to get a little pushy. And the sheriff, because they recognized his voice, kept saying, Rick.
Yes, that was when they were having a spirit that was not a regular, who was actually pretty rough. And it was not a friendly spirit. It was somebody that was trying to usurp a place there. And they were having trouble containing him. They started calling out for your help.
Yeah, you know what my feeling is about when that happens? Put me in, coach.
I know, right? You are fearless. You're a fun investigator.
Well, I don't know if I'm fearless. I just may be a little bit on the stupid side.
Well, we won't go there. That's the guy thing with the ghosts.
Yeah, but it was weird that the sheriff was calling for me to help him.
Well, so, I think that people recognize, I think the reason that we get so much interaction, and we get a lot when we're together, is that you're a very positive and powerful person. You're a strong personality. You're very sure of yourself. You know what team you're on, and that comes through. Okay, and I get called less than a nice person sometimes, but I have a strong personality too, and I'm also very sure of who I am and what team I'm on. And sometimes there's pushback. But I think that the spirits wanted your help there because they knew that you would be that person.
Well,
and they did need help with him.
I mean, you've known me long enough. You know that I'd be in there doing everything I could.
Well, I know that you would be in there doing things that you might not should because you believe so strongly that it would work. I don't think that's true. I don't think there's anything that you would do that you didn't feel like you should. I know there's not.
True, unless somebody was in imminent danger, and then I would probably do whatever it took to
battle. Yeah.
Yes. Battle. Anybody that knows me has heard that.
Absolutely. But it's really funny because we do have similar styles of investigation. And
that's true.
But it's really funny because I feel like you're more patient than I am. And I think that you get some really fantastic evidence because that comes through. I'm compassionate. I care. If there's something I can do to help a spirit be more comfortable, whatever, then I'm there for that, but I don't always get the same responses that you get, or the same type of responses. And why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's just really, I really believe that spirits can read, the vibe that you put off and what you have going on inside you. And ours are pretty close, right?
That's true.
But I do think that, they can read different things in different people. And I do know one thing that both of us do, which I find is really good. We both introduce ourselves to the spirits.
That's true. We do that.
And most people don't do that. I mean, the very first thing I do, I walk in and go, "Hi, my name's Rick. This is the equipment I'm going to try and use to communicate with you, and here's how it works."
Yep.
Right? And then I say, I have voice recorder here, and if you have anybody you want to give a message to, all you have to do is talk, and if I get the message, I'll get it to them. Now, to be honest, I've never had one give me a message to give to anybody, but I have gotten a bunch of voices and people talking to me on it,
yes.
But nobody gave me a message.
I keep waiting on that. It's especially when we go into places that people don't get into often. And I'm always anticipating that there's going to be someone that says, 8675309, if you could just give that number a call, tell her I said, hey, but that has not happened yet. But I do feel like one of the reasons that we get the activity that we get is because of how we approach. I hadn't really thought that we do that so similarly, but we really do.
Well, what's really, it's a weird word to describe me. It's a perfect word to describe you, but for me it's a little weird, but it's true. We're both very gentle in the way we approach things with spirits.
I think that's true.
Yeah, I mean, we don't push, we don't cajole, we never provoke.
Well, that has bad repercussions on occasion.
Well, I mean, if you came to my house and started saying some of the stuff I've heard other ghost hunters say, I'd throw you right off my balcony.
Well, I mean, it's like asking for a bust in the chops, right? You don't go in and talk to people like that in their house.
Well, here's the deal. You're trying to connect with something you can't see and will only appear to you or talk to you if it wants to. So by all means, call it names and be mean to it.
Yep.
Makes no sense.
Well, one of the things that I think I told you about this when I was at the Haunted Museum during that investigation. And when I walked in, everybody had their own spirit boxes. They did allow me to carry something else and stuff too. But it was so weird because the minute I walked in the door, the only thing when I was there the first time eons ago that I just did a tour that bothered me at all was the Dybbuk box, right? And so
was this at Zach's museum?
It was.
Okay.
And I don't know why, because there were other things in that museum that I knew had attachments. There were other things happening in there, but that box bothered me spiritually. And it wasn't because I knew a history on it. It wasn't because of any reason other than there was activity around that box that made me uncomfortable. So,
well,
go ahead.
You know what I think? How spirits can read us.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we can also feel a connection to them.
Oh, I agree.
And when that connection comes, that's when you start to get the talking and the voices and things moving and the whole bit. So,
and that's what happened that first time.
That's what I'm saying. You had a feeling for the box, and the box was trying to talk to you.
Yes.
So
when I went in to do the investigation, when David and I were out there this summer, I walked in, and only through my spirit, there were, I think, 6 people there. And my spirit box was the only one saying, Dybbuk, Dybbuk, Dybbuk. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not there yet. You're just going to have to wait. And so all the people around me are going like, did that say Divot? Mine didn't say Divot. Are you going there now? I said, no, I'm following the path I have laid out. And, but it kept saying Divot. So, and I mean, we got those randomly. Everybody just grabbed them out of a box. There wasn't any rhyme or reason to who had what. But when I went up there, that room was so peaceful. There was nothing moving through the sand. There was nothing untoward. It was a very comfortable room for me. So maybe it recognized my energy or something and just was saying hi or wanted me to come say hi, because there was nothing that was uncomfortable. And I had been very uncomfortable that first time.
Maybe it just wanted to make friends with you this time.
Well, maybe it recognized that it had been disturbing. I don't know.
I mean, I have been to several places, like the LAPD Museum.
Yes.
Been there many, many times. That place is really, really haunted. And actually, Mikey Thompson and I have gotten some amazing things there.
He shared some of them on my show with me. He is one great investigator.
Oh, he really is. And he's super with the audio.
Mm-hmm.
But we would get so many things there. And the one thing that was so strange is that I actually made a friend out of the spirit. And if you can ask anybody that has ever been there, like Brandon Alvis, right? You know Brandon?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He had done the first 2 days along with Kristen Luman and Susan Slaughter of this 3-day thing for the Dark Zone. And I came in on the third day. Well, they had borrowed my equipment because Susan Slaughter's had been in a storage unit and the stuff melted. It got so hot in there.
Oh, my gosh.
So they borrowed my equipment. And when we got there, I walked in and I took my trusty K2 meter out. If anybody knows me, if I don't have one in my hand, it's an imposter. Yep. I don't really think anybody wants to imposter me, so we're pretty safe. But I took out the K2 meter, and Brandon goes, hey, he says, we tried that 2 days. It never went off once. I said, really? And he goes, yeah. And I just went, hey, Walter, it's Rick. Are you here? Bam, all 5 lights. And he goes, holy crap. And I said, yeah, Walter's my buddy. There was another time I went down there. And I think it was Melissa St. Hilaire was down there. And she just said there's a long conference table down there, and there are 2 K2 meters on it. I set mine down. Now, this conference table is probably 12 to 15 feet long. So they're like 4 to 5 foot spaces between the K2 meters, all in a line.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, and they said his name was Arthur. I said, probably wasn't Arthur. And they said, what was it? I said, hey, Walter, was that you? Bam! All 3 of them went off 5 lights. I said, yeah, I figured it was Walter.
Yeah.
So I had to tell him who he was. But that LAPD museum, they don't do the hunts there anymore. It's a shame because it was super active. We came up with some really good stuff. Matter of fact, Mikey and I came up with an idea because one of the scariest places in there is the North Hollywood Shootout Room. Now, what's really weird about the North Hollywood Shootout, I was down the street from it when it happened because I live in North Hollywood. And I'd just come out of Gold's Gym, and I was going to go into this little restaurant, and I'm standing on the outside on the street, and you can hear bam, 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 and the cars are all racing down there, and I'm like, oh, they're shooting a movie, right? I live in Hollywood. We see that a lot, right?
True, yeah.
So I get home, and I go down to Gelson's to get something to eat because I was going to go to Vegas that day. And they said, wow, did you hear about the shootout? I said, what shootout? They said, down here. I said, I was just there. I thought they were doing a movie. And they said, boy, you're kind of dumb, aren't you?
Say, no, I just work on a lot of sets.
But anyway, Mikey and I were trying to figure out how to get more reaction from the 2 mannequins in the North Hollywood Shootout Room. So he said, why don't we play some of the news footage? I said, I got a better idea. And he says, what's that? I said, I like the idea of what you're saying. I said, but why don't we do something with action? I said, why don't we put on machine gun fire? And he goes, oh, that's a great idea. So, he made a little file for the machine gun thing, and I can't remember who it was, might have been Mikey, had an SLS camera, and we're looking at the two mannequins. Now, the two mannequins look very real because they're exact same size. They're wearing the official clothes these guys have on, have the weapons in their hands. They're very intimidating looking. But we start talking to them. We're not getting anything. And I look over at Mikey, and he hits the button, and the machine gun goes off. And the two mannequins instantly lit up with the...
Holy wow.
I mean, instantly, with the shapes of, the skeletons, right?
The SLS?
The SLS did, yeah. And one of them actually shoved the other one out of the glass case down onto the ground, right? And
Holy cow.
And it looked like he was kicking at him, right? So, I mean, that was what I was saying. Sometimes, when you come up with something brand new, and it just works out really cool, But, there's other things about ghost hunting that I really love. We were at the LAPD Museum one night, and to close out, we would always do the Estes method. Now, for those people who are not used to that, that's where you put the block out the light to the eyes, and you put on noise-canceling headphones, and you ask questions that they can't hear you asking, but hopefully the spirit will answer it to them, and then they relay it. Well, there was a father and a daughter, and the daughter was maybe 15, around that area, and they just didn't seem to be connected. They weren't being mean to each other. They were very nice people. They just weren't connecting. So at the very end, I just went over to the girl. I said, "Would you like to try this?" And she goes, "I would, but will you make sure my dad sees it?" And I said, "Sure." So I went around the corner. He was ghost hunting another room, and I got him. And he came over and he was watching. And the girl had one of the most phenomenal Estes sessions I've ever seen. And she started getting in a little too deep, where you could see it was affecting her. So I pulled her out. But when she got up, she walked down, and the father hugged her. And he goes, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." And she was beaming. And I was like, that's what I want.
Absolutely.
That's what I want. I mean, I like to have the spirit interaction. I mean, that's always great when something, from somewhere else actually responds to you and talks to you or pushes you or slaps you, which I've had all of those happen. It's just a really cool thing when something like that with the father and daughter happens.
Well, and it's obviously, since both of them were there, they both had an interest. So that was special.
Yeah, I think that their whole, not to be, melodramatic or anything, but I think their whole connection to each other changed right there. I mean,
Isn't
for the
that
future,
cool?
I really think it changed. So, I mean, that made me very happy.
That's one of the coolest things that we've talked about ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice when something nice happens, Doesn't happen very often. Not that the spirits are running around going, or anything like that. But
everything has their moments.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some weird things happen. So have you.
True.
And should I tell them what happened to me? And I'm not going to say which university it was, but it was in Scotland.
I would like for you to do that because we're going to try to emulate that the next time we're there.
And it's going to be hard to do. I mean,
it is. I mean, because they said that had never happened, didn't they? Or no one had reported it.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the story. I mean, you know it very well. I stayed in a university dorm room in Scotland because during the summer they rent them out like hotel room. And I was up on the third floor, and there was only one other person on it that I knew of. It was a guy. He was way down at the other end. So we each had like a wing to ourselves. And I laid down to go to sleep, and I was barely had laid my head down, and I heard a girl moaning. And I thought, oh, well, somebody snuck into the room next to me, and they're having more fun than I am, right? And then
I can't take you anywhere.
I mean, that's the first thing it sounded like. I got to describe it. But anyway, the next thing I will never forget, and this is going to haunt, it's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. Inside my own room, I heard the most horrible, terrifying scream of a woman that sounded like she was being murdered, and very violently. It sounded like someone was just ripping her to shreds. And I mean, it went from the moan to just blood-curdling scream. And I thought, it was in my room. But then I thought, well, sound travels. Let me look. So I run out in the hallway. I'm going up and down the hallway. I'm listening at the doors. I don't hear anybody, right? So I went to the one right next to me, and I was listening. There was nobody else up there. Wow. So the next day, I went down the reception area, and I asked the girl who was there, I said, have you guys ever had a report of a woman screaming up on the third floor? And they said, no, not at all. I said, well, lucky me. But yeah, that is going to stick with me forever. I mean,
well, I know how disturbed you were by that because we talked about it like when it happened almost. It was one of those things that was just crazy.
Well, one of the things about me that most people don't know, I'm extraordinarily protective.
Yep.
And when I heard that, I mean, I was ready to go Fifth City, dive in there, whatever was going on. I was going to stop it if I could. And nothing. I mean, it was just, that's going to bug me till the day I die.
Well, it's one of those things that when you go to historical places, there's all kinds of history. Sometimes you just...
I did ask my friend Gregor. Mm-hmm. Gregor Stewart has written 18 books about the paranormal, and he had actually written the book about this place, this city. And I asked him about it, and he goes, well, I don't know about anything that happened in there, but there have been murders in that area. So that could be it.
Well, I'll tell you that would be my go-to person. If I had a question about anything anywhere in the area, I would definitely go to Gregor because he is brilliant, and not just because of his writing. He's a great paranormal investigator. He is a great human. You have some neat friends there. Let me correct that. We have some neat friends there. You have more than I do, but Greg is my friend too. I like him.
And do you remember before we went, and I told you, I said the one thing that you're going to absolutely love about Scotland is the people?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
you were not wrong.
Scottish people are just so nice, they're just really extraordinarily nice people.
And it wasn't just the people that we knew. I mean, it was everyone. They're even nice to their environment. And these people have 5 different types of energy production there. And they still, you won't find litter. They don't litter. The roadsides are clean. The streets of Edinburgh are clean. There's no
billboards. There's no billboards.
No. And
I will tell you something.
They even know how to use roundabouts.
That is true. And you were there, so you know what I'm talking about. I was walking with Lori Dorsey and Kat, and we were up on the Royal Mile, and we're walking along, and I'm looking up at something, and they had these cement pylons that kept the cars from coming in and hitting the people because all the restaurants, you get a lot of seats that you can eat outside. And I hit both shins on this thing, and I went face first over into the concrete. And I mean, I landed pretty hard, but, I did stunts for 40 years, so, I know.
Well, you were protecting, yep.
So I hit the ground pretty hard, but it was so weird. I felt like I was levitating because, 40,
you were.
40 different people that were around each had a piece of me and lifted me straight up off the ground. It felt like Superman. I was ready to just whoosh and fly off. But, I mean, that's the way they are. They're just the most
They're lovely. They are wonderful. They are lovely. They are kind. They are, take no crap. But they're very gentle with how they take no crap.
Well, it's funny.
I would not irritate one.
No. Scotland is not made up of a bunch of sissies. I mean,
no, it's not.
I mean, these are people who came from people who fought face to face with, like real legitimate armies, and they were using rakes and scythes and shovels to fight with them, right? And as I like to say, just to be graphic, this was all face-to-face, hand-to-hand, and, there were of course, there were archers and there were horses and everything else, but a lot of the battles, they were just face-to-face to the point where they could smell what the guy had for lunch when they killed him, Well,
and not only that, any castle that we saw, and Inverary was kind of extreme, but probably not for there based on what we saw at a smaller location like Balgony, but the weaponry that they have in these homes is the decorations. And it doesn't look like it was just, randomly, let's hang swords up. Let's put spears. It's so, they could go to war in a heartbeat. All you have to do is go in the house and grab the stuff and you're done.
Well, I do believe that a lot of those swords and spears and everything were what is be called booty from being in a battle.
Yes.
That was the other side's good stuff. A lot of
it's astounding.
The one castle that you brought up, Balgony Castle, which I've been to so many times, and I made a great friend with the laird, and unfortunately he passed away, but what a wonderful guy he was. But he had so much Templar swords and spears and everything else in there. I wanted him to turn his back so I could grab one and run out the door.
Whatever.
You know what? The way he was, if I would have just said, man, I'd love to have one of these, he would have pulled one off the wall and probably gave it to me.
He probably would. He loved you.
Yeah, he was a wonderful, wonderful man. But that's just the way the people are in Scotland. I was very fortunate to get to meet up with Scottish Paranormal, who you now know them.
Yeah.
And, they're more than happy to bring you along, when they go somewhere.
And they were more than happy, although they've only done it once, I have only asked once, to stay up to the wee hours and actually do a show in the wee hours of the morning when they had to work the next day. There's some wonderful humans. And they didn't.
Really well, the movie now, Spooked Ireland. Ryan O'Neill, who started Scottish Paranormal, is on there with Chris Fleming. So if anybody's out there watching, well, no, it's Spooked Ireland now.
Well, they had Spooked Scotland.
Yeah, and now this year is Spooked Ireland.
Well, I just looked for Ryan.
Yeah. So,
but that's really, Ireland is where you had one of your most extreme experiences.
Oh, God, yes.
You want to talk about that?
Well, I will really quickly. I won't. I'll just hit a few highlights. We had been at the Hellfire Club in Dublin, and as we were leaving, several of the people were saying that they're getting a headache behind their right eye. And one of my things that I do when I go places, I really open myself up, which I think is why I get so much stuff. But
I agree.
Opening yourself up to that stuff like that can have a real bad backfire, and that's exactly what happened to me. We got to Leap Castle, which is known as one of the most haunted places in the world, and we were there about an hour early. So we pulled up outside, and it's in a very rural area. Right? It looks like if you ever saw The Quiet Man, that's what it looked like, all rolling hills and, grass and cobblestones and things like that. So the other guys got out and ran behind the bushes because we'd take, an hour and a half or 2 hours, to get there. And it was really windy and cold. And I was like, oh, God, this reminds me of growing up in Chicago. I love this. So they all jumped back in the car and they said, you got to get in? I said, no, I'm just going to stand here, man. This feels great. So I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I felt, and the way I described it was a spear went through my right eye and out the back of my head. I could actually feel it like, and I grabbed my eye, and water just started pouring out of it. And my knees buckled like Mike Tyson hit me. It almost knocked me out. And I started staggering backwards, and I looked at the ground, and I went, Rick, you've been a stuntman for 40 years. Get to the ground while you can control it, right? And because I figured I was going to go out and bam, that would not be a good way of falling. But just as I started to get myself towards the ground, I heard a voice say, if you hit the ground, you'll never get up. So not the smartest guy in the world, but I threw myself into reverse faster than you can imagine. Right? And managed to stay up and stagger to the car and grab onto the side of it. Well, one of the guys happened to see me out through the back window because they were facing away from me. And he jumps out, and he comes out, and he grabs me. And he takes me behind the car, and he gets me some water, and I'm standing there. He goes, get back in, come on, get in the car. I said, no, man, I'm still woozy. Let me stay out here in the cold and the wind. This might wake me up, right? And he goes, oh, okay. So he gets back in the car. And in my book, it's the last story of my first book, Ghosts Believe in Me. One of the things when I write a book, if anybody else is there when something really cool happens, I let them tell their version. That way you have backup where somebody can say that didn't happen, whatever they want to say. But he says that he looked out and he didn't see me, so he jumped out of the car. And he said, I was holding onto the car with one hand like I was trying not to fall. And he said the first thing he thought, he says, wow, if Rick falls, he's never going to get up. And he says, I was so white and gasping for breath that he finally helped me up, and I got into the car, and I was just laying back in the seat like dead meat. And they went to the front of the car, to the front of the castle, and they said, all right, we're going to go inside. I said, just leave me out here. It really affected me badly. But they went back inside, and my vision started going, and I started getting the iris effect where you're, like the old thing on the movies when the movie was over.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, holy crap. Right? And then right then, and this is the only way I can describe it, if anybody's ever been on an airplane and flushed the toilet where it goes whoosh, from my neck down, my energy went just like that. Whoosh, and I was just sitting there like a piece of spaghetti, right? And my vision's going, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm dying, right? And there was no doubt in my mind I was dying because everything was shutting down.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I said, I've got to do a lot more stuff than most people. I've got to go most places I wanted to see. And if today's my day, I'm okay with it. And I just sat there relaxing, and maybe 2 minutes later, I felt the energy come back into me, and I started feeling better, and I pulled my hand down, and my eye was stopping the watering, and it was like, I don't know what happened.
Right.
But a couple weeks later, one of the guys sent me a message. He goes, you're not going to believe this. The thing about the right eye, two guys at the other place we've been at, he says, we found out two guys that had a duel, and one got shot through the right eye and died. So what I figure is that spirit attached to me was trying to show me what happened.
Yes.
And the fact that I said, it is my day, that it went, oh, no, that's not what I want, and he backed off. But,
he was helping you live the whole experience without meaning to.
Yeah, but fortunately, I think that's what happened. He just backed away. But the guys in Scottish Paranormal had gone into the Lord of the Manor and said, hey, how long is it to get a, ambulance out here? And he says, why? And he goes, we think Rick is dying. And Rick was positive he was dying, but all of a sudden, bam, here I am again. So wasn't my time, but...
just part of your theme song.
Let that be a cautionary tale about opening yourself up a little too much.
Well, I, for one, am glad that you did not go through the full experience.
Well, you should be, because I'd be haunting you right now. And I'd go up and I'd get that Dorsey girl, too, just because, and probably go mess with Mikey and say things into his equipment all the time in different languages.
Oh, that would be funny, because you would know all of them then.
Oh, yeah. Get them all to hang out with me. Come on, guys, let's go mess with these people.
Well, I tell you what, I would not mind. But I'm going to use my new Zoom. So talk into that. But
Yeah,
I still haven't gotten that out much. I'm ready.
I have one. I took it with me, and I didn't use it. I used my my old Sony.
Isn't that funny? Because I go to mine too. And you know why? Because I can just plug it into my drive. I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
And it's so easy to download.
Yeah, it's got the
and I get
USB
great evidence with it.
Yeah, I've gotten some really good stuff with it. I've actually gotten good stuff on other things. I actually got pretty good voice on my infrared camera.
Really?
Yeah, I got a really good voice at the birdcage down in Tombstone.
Yes. Yes, you did.
And I just left my...
I didn't know that was on your camera.
Yeah, that came from my camera. I set the camera down in the poker room, which, for people who don't know, had the world's longest running poker game over 8 years. And that doesn't mean they closed up and started the next night. It went continuously. The place never closed for over 8 years. And what happened is when somebody went broke, there were people waiting to get in, and it just kept going and going and going. And it was the place where Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp and the Clantons and every bad guy in the neighborhood, you know, that was one of the places they would go to. They'd go to the Oriental, they'd go other places. And I say this because, by the way, I'm going to be one of the guests at the Tombstone Paranormal Paracon in April. So come on down and see me, and we'll hang out, and we'll ghost hunt, and we'll have fun. But anyway, so much for the commercial. But anyway.
And the ghosts talk to you there, too.
Yeah. Well, when I got back down, it was just me and the owner ghost hunting, and I had 9 pieces of equipment, all charged, fresh batteries. Within 45 minutes, every one of them was dead. Right?
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I packed up my gear and went home. And a couple weeks later, I was listening back, you know, looking at the video, and all of a sudden I went, what was that? And I went back, and you could hear me walking down the stairs. Well, little backstory, though. As I was walking up the stairs, I said, did you kill anybody down here? Did you get killed down here? As I was walking up, I just asked those 2 questions. And later on, you hear me and Billy coming down the stairs. And we're talking, and just as we started to get to the end of the stairs, there's a voice with a Hispanic accent. Now, Tombstone is right on the border. I mean, Mexico's right there. Matter of fact, there was probably more Mexican citizens in Tombstone at the time than American citizens. But anyway, this voice goes, I had to. Which can only be the answer to, did you kill someone down here, right? So I sent the thing. I had to go down to, I was doing a live event for Spirit Realm, and it was going to be the next day, and it was going to be with Tony Rathman, and I was really looking forward to it. But I figured I'd go drive down to Tombstone for the night and then, you know, come through. So I sent this sound clip to Billy, who runs the place. I said, Billy, did you hear that? He wrote back, and he goes, wow. I said, can I get half an hour in there? And he goes, well, he says, I could get you in, you know, like right now if you were here. But, you know, I said, well, good, because I'm at the front door. Because he thought I was still in Los Angeles. So he had somebody come and open the door for me, and I went down there, and I took out my recorder, and unbelievably, it only took me 38 seconds to get him to answer another question. So I said, did you ever see somebody get killed? And he went, yes. So if anybody is going to, same voice. If anybody else is going to the birdcage, go down to the poker room with your voice recorder, because that guy likes to talk.
Good advice.
Yeah. Well, you ghost hunting, you know, here's a guy that's willing to play, you know.
Well, you got to know those things.
Yeah. So there's a hot tip for many birdcage people.
I love that you share so freely, because we both know people that, you know, they get their favorite spots and they get some great evidence, but they will never tell you where that was, or they will, you know, try to take proprietorship of it themselves. And they're just like, no, I just got this somewhere over there. You know, it's like, oh, come on. Let me see if I can duplicate that, because how cool would that be? You would only have nothing but verification of your own work. So validation. But people are very funny about that.
Yeah, they seem to be very protective of their sources sometimes, and I'm not like that at all. I want to share. I mean, you know, I get so many messages on Facebook. By the way, if you are on Facebook, just go to Rick McCallum or Ghosts Believe in Me or Hollywood Ghosthunters, and I'll get your message. But, you know, if you've got any good places to ghost hunt or any suggestions or anything, let her rip, right? And I answer everything I get. So,
and he's not kidding.
Yeah. No. Hey, I'm a lonely old guy. I need somebody to talk to.
Oh, my gosh. The women are lining up. Oh, dear. So he loves sharing, guys. I'm not kidding. This is one of the most open, friendly, kind people in this field, or actually anywhere. And
you're going to give me a good rep at this rate. Knock it off.
Oh, please. The hubster even thinks that you're pretty great. So he doesn't like anybody except me.
Who's that? Oh, the hubster? Yeah.
Yeah, he likes you, okay.
Yeah, well, he should. I mean, how many people who travel have a built-in bodyguard?
Well, that's true. But
actually, three, because there was me, and there was Mikey, and there was Lori.
That's right. And we all had each other's back. It's a way to go.
That's true.
But, you know, and I always tell people that while I cannot possibly endorse the tour company, the experiences that we had with Scottish Paranormal and the Scottish people and the land and everything else, there's no place I've been to yet like that. I mean, it is haunted. It's beautiful. It's haunting. There's also a little enjoyment for ufology enthusiasts. I mean, you know, it's really a very interesting place, and you can feel the battles that have been waged there.
Well,
and you actually do feel those.
After you.
I was just saying, you do feel those.
Oh yeah, I've
personally.
I actually, one of the things I like to do, and a lot of people wouldn't think it of me because I'm kind of a lazy slug, is that when I'm there, I will go out and walk 10 to 12 miles through the forests.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's easy to do. I mean, it's there.
I remember telling you guys before we got there, I said, be prepared, have good shoes. You're going to walk at least, 8 to 10 miles every day.
Yeah.
Right? And most of it is hills. And I got to tell you, one of the reasons I go there all the time is because the girls, are always walking up and down hills and they wear yoga pants. So
the view is great.
Yeah, it gives you incentive to keep walking. But
well, I'm going to tell you, I don't know how any place can be all uphill, but they do a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's like, when do I go downhill?
Where is this curve that's going to take me on down? But it is beautiful. It is walkable. It's one of the safest places I've ever been in. And I mean, Edinburgh is a metropolitan area. And yet, so safe.
Well, you know as well as I do, if somebody picked on a woman out there, there would be like 25 men coming over to beat on the guy. And the
other women.
Yeah.
I mean, the women were as fast as would jump to save you as anyone.
Oh, yeah. The people have to understand that Scottish people are the ones that beat up the Vikings when they tried to invade their place.
Yeah.
When you slug it out with the Vikings, when you punch out the Vikings and the Romans, and all you use is a pitchfork and a torch.
You got a little cred.
Yeah, you got a lot of street cred.
Yeah. But they are a fierce people.
Oh, I mean, they come from a lineage of nothing but warriors. I mean, if you go back through history, every period of history in Scotland, battles.
Yeah.
Just battles everywhere, And I love to go and find the history of it and things like that. You get out there. Like, I went out one night, as a matter of fact, I consider myself the last casualty of the Battle of Roslyn of 1303.
Yeah.
Because I went out to the field because there had been 30,000 and 8,000. There's like probably well over 30,000 people that were killed in these fields in a battle. And I went out to see. I was going to go out there and see, try and film and get some voices in the middle of the night. And I fell down a hill and just blew up my knee. I mean, it exploded. And I had to walk 2.5 miles and climb fences with it. It was awful. And I mean, it took me, 2 to 3 years where I wasn't limping badly. So, but there's just one existence right there. There's 35,000 people died in this one field. And it was so funny. I actually got to ghost hunt in there that night. And me and the guy that ran the place, it wasn't an attraction. It's actually a farm. And we went out there. We ghost hunted for a couple hours, and we got nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not a flip on anything. Yeah. But to me, that was really cool, because that meant that all of those people that had died out there had gone on to where they were supposed to go.
Yeah.
So as I was walking off there, the guy looked at me and he was like, he just nodded his head. I just walked off, and I said, hang on. Rest in peace, gentlemen, and walked away. And he just nodded his head.
And they are. But, I don't know that would always be the case. Perhaps the anniversary dates would be different. But I find that, like you, I appreciate the fact that they're not there, especially when it's someplace that there have been truly horrifying experiences. I like when things are not locked in.
Well, the fact is that the Scottish people were horribly outnumbered. Mm-hmm. The king had sent 30,000 soldiers over to kill one man, one of the Sinclairs. And because he had a deal with another country or somebody else to let this one girl marry this guy. And she said, I'm marrying Sinclair. And she left for Scotland. So because he was indebted to this guy, he sent 30,000 soldiers to go finish him off. Well, they got out there and they set up in 3 different spots, the night before. And I think it was the monks up on the hill or somebody else, but somebody warned the town. And the Scottish people, rallied some people, went out there and they had maybe like 6,000 people. Now, that's outnumbered, 5 to 1, right? So while they're there, another group came up, fairly substantial sized group, at least a couple thousand people. And, on horseback with weapons. The guy says, heard you might be needing help for the battle. And the guy goes, yeah, well, what is your name? And he goes, William Wallace. Yeah. So William Wallace showed up, and then there's rumors, because, this happened in 1303. And I may be old, but I wasn't around then. But they say that a whole bunch of people, now the Sinclairs are known for being, the heads of the Knights Templars. Yes. Right? They're the ones who built, Roslyn Chapel, and, they also had the temple. It's called Temple, the city, which is right down the way, which was an actual temple and headquarters for the Knights Templar. And if they're coming after the Sinclairs, you can pretty much be sure that the Templars were coming. And they said that a bunch of guys in white tunics with red crosses showed up. And even though they only had like 8,000 people to go against 30,000, they absolutely routed the Romans, the English, I think it was. The English just absolutely routed them. And they said the only English that survived were the really fast ones.
The ones that were out ahead of the slow ones.
Yeah, they were like, exit, stage right even.
And it was effective. But we went to a place that was named for that, Wallace dude. So, but we have to go to our break. So this is fascinating. I just love these conversations. We will be back. Y'all be sure you come back too. You are listening to KUNX Digital Broadcasting, and we are glad you are. We'll see you on the flip side.
Hi, I'm Ray Sobbs, and I'm here to tell you about something I really think you're going to like. The UNX Network is a part of a larger group called UNX Media, and one of the things we offer is the quarterly UNX magazine, which is available both in print and digital formats. This amazing magazine covers all aspects of the unexplained and makes for a great coffee table periodical that is certain to spark enlightening conversations in your living rooms. We invite you to check out the latest digital issue for free. Just go to unxnetwork.com/membership and fill out your free membership with your name and email and become a new free member. The new summer issue is now available, and the theme is Time Anomalies, which includes a feature article written by our managing editor, Lee Spiegel. Just go to unxnetwork.com/memberships. That's unxnetwork.com/memberships and get your free e-copy of the UNX magazine today.
Are you thinking about purchasing a wood-fired heating or cooking appliance but don't know where to start? The new book, Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking, will guide you through the process and make the decision much easier. Find out about wood stoves, wood-burning fireplace inserts, masonry heaters, cook stoves, brick ovens, and more. Learn about operation and maintenance, buying and storing wood, even how to make your own charcoal. A bonus section includes delicious recipes for cooking in a wood-burning oven, grill, tandoori oven, or smoker. The wise homeowner, prepper, or homesteader will have the ability to heat their home with wood when the power goes out or to save money on increasing gas bills. Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking is available at Amazon. Visit www.woodfiredpub.com for more information. That's woodfiredpub.com.
I spent a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain and mud. In 95, I helped tow your moving trailer. And in 09, it was sparks from me, your chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com, brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hello, this is Tony Rathman, host of Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence, where each week we show, discuss, and review some of the best paranormal evidence captures from a wide variety of known and upcoming paranormal investigators from across the country. Join us Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific Time on the UNX Network. And don't forget, stay haunted.
Hey there, ex-streamers. Ray Sobbs here to tell you how you could tune in to your favorite paranormal programming without using all of your mobile data in the process. When you're on the road and you want to log into the X, save your mobile data and never miss a minute of the UNX Network programming by calling the X line at 667-930-9331. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Save it to your contacts and dial hands-free. And there's no extra cost to you if you have unlimited minutes. So you can listen to the X at any time on any phone, anywhere. Check it out at 667-930-9331. That's 667-930-9331. It's brought to you by your friends at the Paranormal.radio and the UNXNetwork.com.
We are the contact for alternative research topics. The X.
Welcome back for the second hour of Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I am so glad you are here. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that the new edition of Fate is out, and I am loving it. If you are subscribing, you should see it soon. If you are not subscribing, you should. We also have a digital edition that you can get in your inbox as soon as they're available, and you can get stories through the interim times as well. And there's links to my interview with Jacques Vallée. I read an article on the Winchester House that's going to be featured in the next edition. So there's all kinds of things going on, and we have all kinds of contributors. So check them out. Now, I am so excited because I have one of my best friends joining me tonight. He is an intrepid and really fun paranormal investigator. He is one of the founders of Hollywood Ghosthunters. He wrote the 2021 Paranormal Book of the Year, Ghosts Believe in Me. You've got to check that forward out, just saying. And he also wrote a wonderful book that is Spirits Are Out There. And he is just really kind of nifty overall. And he is Rick McCallum. Rick, I am so glad you're here. I've been having the best time, and we're going to have more, too.
Well, I'm going to have a hard time walking around today with my head not swollen up, knowing that I'm nifty.
You are nifty.
I've never been nifty before. I'm excited.
Okay. You are always nifty. Just saying. But, we really do investigate well together because we love the paranormal, and we have a group of friends. We all do well together. And, when we go to events, like when we were at the Short River Distillery, those were people that neither one of us knew. Neither one of us, well, we did know some of them, but we weren't really up to speed because your knee, my knee, your chest, everything. And I thought that we did okay. But I just love getting the chance to get together and share experiences, experience new things. And some of the things that are in your books are just fascinating. What is, in your first book, we already talked about Limp, what is your favorite story in there? It's not really a story. What is your favorite experience that you shared in that book?
Probably the one about Lep Castle.
I said not counting that one.
Oh, okay.
I knew that was your favorite because it's so bizarre.
Well, there's a lot in it that's there's a lot. There's a lot that happened in the house that I lived in.
That's true.
I mean, there's just so many things that my evil stepmother, Vandy, and my younger brother, we all experienced it. I mean, we all have stories from the house. But I think probably the stuff at the house, just to give the people an idea, my dad and I had not gotten along for quite a long time. And finally, trying to make amends, he invited me down to his house in Texas. So I drove down there from Chicago with a friend of mine. And when we got there, we hung around inside the house for a little bit. And one of my dad's salesmen was there with him, and he had to drive him back to the bar to pick up his car, which I thought was probably not the best idea, but hey, they're adults. So anyway, I'm really tired because I had to drive the whole way because Tom couldn't drive a stick. So I said, all right, where am I going to sleep? Because I didn't think they were coming back anytime soon. And they said, right here. So anyway, they leave, and I go get in the bedroom, and I lay down in this canopy. It's like a woman's bed, and there's moonlight right from the window, right at my feet, and I hear, I'm like, what was that? Right? So
that would have been my take.
Yeah, then I'm laying there and I hear, I'm like, all right, now this is weird. I thought, does he have a dog? right? And I got up and I looked under the bed, no dog. I opened up the closet door, which was just to my right, where it was kind of hearing the sound. Nothing in there, and I laid back down, and I'm sitting there, and I hear, So I sat up and I looked, and there was an air conditioning duct, and I went, oh, well, maybe the air conditioner's just turning off. And I went, well, not 3 times in a row. Right?
That's true.
So I sat up, and I'm looking out the window, and I could see everything in the room because the moonlight's coming in. And right behind my right ear and on the back of my neck, I could feel the heat, and I could feel this thing go on my neck, and that loud. And I jumped out of bed. I grabbed the door, and there was a slider lock on it. I couldn't get hold of the slider lock fast enough to get out, so I just turned the handle, the knob, and just broke the frame out because I wanted to get out of there so bad, right? And
I can see that.
It scared the hell out of me. And I went outside, and I'm standing out there, and about 5 minutes later, my dad and Tom come back. And my dad gets out, and he looks at me, and he starts laughing. I said, what's so funny? He goes, he got you, didn't he? And I went, what do you mean? He went, I said, you know about that? He goes, yeah, does it all the time. So that was my introduction to this place. And then I had to tell him I tore his door off his frame out of the wall.
That's okay. I'm sure you knew how to fix it too. I
fixed it. But that was, that's so weird when you get something that hot breath right in your,
well, see, the sound would be bad enough. The heat would be so unexpected because you don't associate heat with spirits.
Well, you could feel the breath too. I mean, it wasn't just like...
that's what I'm saying. But you wouldn't... The heat does not vibe with paranormal spirits.
No, you would expect it to be a cold thing, but it wasn't. It was a hot breath, and it was like, ugh, let me out of here.
Yeah, I'd have been going too.
But the house had stuff like that all the time. I do think one of my favorite stories in the book, my dad had passed away, and I was driving back to Nashville. I mean, he'd passed away several years earlier. And we still had a family business that ran out of Nashville. So I was driving back, and I was in the speed lane, and there was one of those double tanker trucks,
mm-hmm.
That have like filled with gas or milk, whatever they happen to have in them. And it was on my right, and on my left were these huge brick, things to keep you from going, into the next oncoming traffic.
Right.
And I'm driving along, and I'm almost to where I'm going to get in between the two of them. And my brakes lock on my 4Runner. And I'm going like 70 miles an hour, and the car just fishtails, and I'm fighting to keep it from hitting anything. And, because it's slowing down, of course, but, I'm hanging on for all I'm worth. And the tanker truck went flying sideways and smashed into the cement barriers. And that would have been right where I would have been. And it would have killed me for sure, right? So as the tanker started to slide past me, going from my right to my left, the brakes let loose, and I turned really hard to the right into the next lane, and thankfully there was nobody coming. And went past it, was driving down the street, down the highway. And my hands were shaking so bad from an adrenaline overload.
Yeah.
But the weird thing was, the thing in my book, it's called Saved by a French Whore. And that's the title of the chapter. And I named it that is because my dad loved to wear copious amounts of, what the heck was that he always wore? I can't remember, but his Aramis. He used to wear copious amounts of Aramis. And I'd be sitting in the living room with Vandy, and it was probably 25 feet, down the hallway back to where his room was. And he'd be coming out. We could both go, oh, here comes the French whore.
Yep.
But after I simmered down a little bit, the inside of my car filled up with the smell of Aramis. So
thanks, Martin.
Thanks, Pa.
Yeah.
So they really do come across in times of trouble.
Well, I have found that to be true also. And I'm glad he did.
Me too.
I imagine. Something that I found really funny is that, Cash has started a podcast, and it's the first time I heard him talk. He interviewed you. It was the first time I heard him talk about the house in Texas. I mean, he was basically damaged by that house in Texas. I mean, when I've heard you talk about it, I know your experiences there, but that was the first time that I'd heard Cash, period. And that was the topic. So that was interesting. Plus, you going over the fence, but that's the whole story. Different story. But, putting him over the fence.
Well, he was 13 and he spit on me. He's getting his testosterone was starting to kick in.
Mm-hmm.
And we were shooting baskets, and he turned around and he spit on my foot. And I couldn't conk him. He was too young. So I picked him up and I threw him over a 6-foot fence. And when he landed on the other side, our Great Dane grabbed him by the head and started dragging him across the backyard.
But that's the house where you saved him, wasn't it?
No.
Was it? No, it wasn't.
No, the place where I saved him was in Oregon. That was
that's
so
the house
cool.
that you went back to look at, too?
I did, and I went out and I stood by the lake and, just stood there. I saved my dad in that house, too. I think I told you that.
You did.
But my younger brother, he was maybe 2 at the time. We lived in Sam's Valley, Oregon. My dad and the other fathers had built a raft out in, maybe 30, 40 yards away from, the edge of the lake and from the shore, I guess you would call it. But I was out on the thing, and Cash's mom, who was a real good swimmer, decided to swim out there with Cash under her arm. Well, she would have made it because she was a good swimmer, but there were these 2 big dogs. They were part German Shepherd and part Great Dane, and they were called Major and Baron. And they decided they wanted to swim, too. Well, they got about halfway there and realized they couldn't swim worth the damn and went for the first floating object, which happened to be Cash's mom. And these dogs were both 80 to 100 pounds. They were really big dogs. And they were panicking. And I mean, they were just trying everything to try, to get on top of her like she was going to hold them up. And they knocked Cash out of her hands. And he sunk like a rock, right? And I was 13 at the time. No, I would have been 15 at the time because he was about 2. And I thought, I gotta find him, right? So I dove in. He might have been younger than 2 because he was wearing a diaper, right? And it's the only reason I found him because I dove in, I was swimming as fast as I could, trying to find him, and all I saw was this spot of white about 15 feet down on the bottom. And I'll never forget this sight because it was just, talk about being a chilled little dude. I'm swimming down, I see him, I'm like, all right, I gotta get there. And he sees me coming, and he reaches up, and he points his hands up like he wants me to lift him up. And then he wiggles his little fingers, like little kids do.
Like, come on.
Yeah, I'm got baby down, little help. So I scooped him up and managed to get back up to the top and get us up onto the, onto the raft. And his mom made it to the raft. The dogs had turned around and made it back to shore. But I'll never forget him. And he was sitting there like Buddha. Buddha's legs are like kind of out in front of him, and he was just sitting there like a little Buddha.
Yeah.
Not panicking, just sitting there.
Because he had confidence.
I don't know what he had, but it was kind of cool. I mean, I was lucky I found him.
Well, it is. But, you weren't going to not find him.
Well, I was running out of air, so I wouldn't have had much longer to look.
Yeah. Well, you had what you needed.
Yeah. Well, I've always been, and I've told you a lot of the stuff that happens to me, and there's no doubt in my mind that somebody watches out for me because of all the weird things that have happened, and I came out good on the other end, is that I think my next book, I'm going to call it My Guardian Angel Just Called for Backup.
And that's not a rare occurrence. I would almost guarantee that.
No, it's not.
So,
I mean, I've had so many weird things. I saved my dad's life. I won't get into that, but he would have absolutely been killed. Yeah, it's just strange things happen, you know.
like the lug for tires.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you another one that tells you exactly what I'm talking about. We used to do these things called the Home Decorating Remodeling Show, and we had a show in Nashville. And this show had 800 booths. It was huge. And we'd have people drive their stuff in, drop it off, and then come back down the exit lane. And this woman came up to talk to me, and as she walked up to me, I looked, and here came this pickup truck with a flatbed, you know, with the wide wheels sticking out in the back. And I saw that it was probably going to hit her. So I reached out, and I grabbed her, and I pulled her towards me, and I was going to back up, and somebody had built a little building as part of their display, and I walked backwards into the building, and it was like now or never. And I figured, all right, this is probably going to finish me off, but it ain't going to get her. So I grabbed her, and I lifted up over my head so that the thing couldn't hit her. And as it went flying by, I felt it brush my shins. I mean, the air just brushed my shins, and I mean, it would have just sucked me under there. But I'd already had my plan. I was going to drop her on top of the flatbed as it went by, as it hit me, right?
Right.
She didn't see what happened because she was looking the other way. Well, it went by, and I set her down, and she starts screaming at me, "How dare you touch me? How dare you? Call the police!" And she's just screaming. Everybody's looking. And here comes Joel. I think it was Joel. One of the cops comes running down the way along with the security guard, and they went, "Oh, my God, that was so close." And the lady says, "What are you talking about?" He said, "That guy just saved your life." And they said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "It's a truck just went flying by here, and he picked you up so you wouldn't get hit by the things there." And I told her, I said, "You're going to have to excuse me for a minute." And she says, "Why? I want to thank you." I said, "I think I'm going to throw up."
No doubt.
Another adrenaline rush. But that's what I'm saying. Weird things like that happen to me. The kid in Edinburgh that I ran out into traffic and, got him back, before he could get hit. And I can barely walk with my knees. Somebody just said, "All right, you can run right now. Go."
Yes. And, that is, it's not just adrenaline, but it's something else, right? It is such a rush. And that has happened to you so many times. It's interesting to see the different things that you have had happen. And yeah, it's just like the Limp Castle thing. You should not, that was just I don't know. It just fascinates me that you were okay after that because the guy said he was dying. I mean,
seemed to be the consensus of the people that were around.
Yes, everybody was pretty sure that was your, Waterloo. And thank God it wasn't. Because otherwise, I would never get any rest because you would always be coming to tell me what you were finding on the other side. So, I mean,
you know, be telling you right now, hey, me and Jimmy Buffett are here. He wanted to say hi.
Yeah. And he said to hug Charleston. Yeah. But, and that would be okay. Bring him. Tell him he can croon if he wants to. But it's just one of those things that when you have paranormal experiences and you anticipate and know what you get, it's just really so cool when it's consistent. I mean, and yours are pretty consistent. Spirits, they do believe in you.
Well, that's the only thing I can think of because so many things happen. They just happen. I mean, I'll just ask, for instance, I had to redo my whole apartment from all these boxes and everything. And there were three things that I really, really wanted.
Oh, yes.
To find. One was a lunchbox, a John Wayne lunchbox that a girl had given to me because she knew that I liked John Wayne, and we hadn't spoken for a long time. We weren't upset or anything. She had gone her own way, I'd gone mine. She was, and she was married. She'd been married for several years, but she just sent it to me. She goes, I just knew you would like this when I saw it. So that really touched me. And then I was looking for my mother's crucifix that she had on, in her hand in her coffin when she passed away to put back up on the wall. And the other thing was a memento that I had from a movie I did in Australia, which was my name on the back of the director's chair. And they were the only three things that I couldn't find. And I looked, and there were 300 boxes, believe it or not. Everybody's going to think I'm lying, but I can show you the invoice. Right? There were 300 boxes came back because they had to empty my entire apartment because my roof caved in. But anyway, I looked through those boxes and looked through those boxes over, and I could not find anything. So I was sitting here, and I was really upset. And I just went, I could really use some help to find these. They're really important. And I automatically stood up, walked into the back room, picked up my suitcase, opened it up, and went through because I had like 3 suitcases in there, smaller, medium, and large. Opened up the small one, and all 3 pieces were in it. And I mean, it wasn't 2 minutes after I asked, let me, I really, boing, pop, walked right to it.
Well, why didn't you say so?
Yeah, I mean,
yep.
And that happens to me quite a bit. So I'm happy it does, I think they just say, this guy's by himself, he's got nobody else to ask. So,
you have guardian angels on top of guardian angels, or you would not still be here, my friend.
Well, that is true. No, I really, and you know what's so funny? I can feel them. I know when they're here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really nice thing to know about, when you sit there and you go, oh, they're here. Usually when they're here, that means something's afoot.
Well, and you have had things afoot that they needed to help you with there.
Well, that was the only reason I got all manly and stuff with what happened, because I knew I had backup.
Yeah.
And I knew the other guy had, backup of the other sort. So, but I had enough of him. And, just for the people listening, I had something which I can only, and I don't use this word ever, but it could only be described as demonic. It showed up in my apartment one night, like 2 a.m. as I was walking along, and it stood up in front of me, and it was backlit. And I'm 6'4", and I'm a pretty big guy. And it just went up and went up and went up, and it went wider. And I mean, I could see the outline of it because from the, the microwave has a light on it, the clock, and I could see the outline of him, and he was huge. And I'm standing there, and I could feel like this energy just pulsing off of him, and it was all negative energy, and I knew it was meant just to scare me. And it was doing a mighty fine job of it, right? But my basic instinct to things like that is battle, right?
True that.
I had my hands up, because I threw my hands up to begin with because I thought it was a burglar. Right, it was like 2 a.m. I came out of my bedroom, and I was walking along, and all of a sudden, in the pitch dark, something stood up in front of me. And my first thing was, there's somebody in here. And then when it grew up to be Shaq on steroids, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Right. So then I made a lunge towards it, jumped to the side, hit the lights, and it was gone. But I knew I had seen it. There was no doubt I had seen it, and I felt it trying to intimidate me. And then, I came across where a couple of young girls were trying to contact their dad here, and I let them use my spirit box. And I finally came in because the spirit box, everybody that listens to this knows, they don't chatter. They'll say a word like every 5 minutes or something. And this thing went for like a half an hour. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it just didn't stop. And the 2 girls had, tablets, and they were just writing and writing and writing. And I finally came out and said, all right, girls, as soon as we're getting such good connection, I got to ask something, right? I said, look, I've seen the black shadows that came through here, and then I saw that big, ugly son of a bitch. I said, well, for the last 2 weeks, I've been seeing white shadows come through here. what are the white shadows? And it says, scent protection. And I went, okay, because that's what I was thinking. I figured if the dark shadows were the bad guys, maybe the white shadows were the good guys. And the one girl goes, well, are you good or bad? And it goes, loving. I was like, ha, the good guys are here. So that night, after the girls had left, I was coming out of my bedroom, and I heard a voice in my head say, he's here. And I knew he was talking about that thing was back. And I'd had enough of it, and I knew that I wasn't alone, right? Yes. So I just came out, and I just said, all right, you want to play games, manifest. Let's go. Let's get to it right now, right? I said, and you won't. I said, because you're a coward. I said, you show up here when you've got, other entities with you and everything else, but I'm not alone, and you know it. So either you manifest right now or you get the hell out and you never come back. And that was like 10 years ago, and he's never returned. So, and I don't think they were intimidated by me. I think they were intimidated by the backup team.
Well, they recognize what the backup teams are, just like we recognize them.
Yeah. So.
And when the energy is off like that.
I'm a big believer in that, and that's, it's helped me on so many occasions. It's just, it's amazing to me. I wanted to donate my Forerunner to Salvation Army, and I called them up, and they said, we'll be right over. And I had Kreger mags on there, which are pretty expensive. And I had wheel locks, so you couldn't steal them. And I thought to myself, well, I got to make sure I give them the thing to unlock the wheel in case they get a flat or something. And I said, all right, I know where I put it. And there's a little toolkit that goes with the truck, and it's flat. You lay it out, you unroll it. It's flat as a pancake with a couple little tools in it. I took the tools out, not in there. I rubbed my hands over it, totally flat. I looked in the holes, nothing in there. And I went, I know I put it in here. So I put the stuff back, and I rolled it up, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? And I just looked up, and I went, I can't give this away without having that. And I took the thing back out, and I unrolled it. And not only was it in there, it was sitting on the outside of the thing right in the middle. Now, I can't explain that. I just can't.
Nope.
But I'm happy it happened. I was able to give my truck to the charity, and, hopefully somebody got something out of it. But I don't expect people to believe me about this stuff, because I know it doesn't happen for everybody. It might if they asked.
Well, but for the people that it does happen for, it's nice validation of their experiences too.
Yeah,
because
I have no doubt there's spirits out here to look out for me. None, zero, no doubt at all. And I'm pretty sure they have a full-time job keeping me from falling over all the time.
Well, you're the only person I know that went through what you went through and rode did a 6-mile bike ride to get back home and just went home. So
that's why I had a heart attack.
You did.
And the doctor asked me, he goes, well, what did you, I told him, I said, I was riding my bike, and all of a sudden, the bike started shaking. I felt the pain that you talk about, and I started, vision was getting a little wobbly, so I got off and stood by the side of the road. I said, when I felt the pain go away, I said, I went home. And he goes,
you fell asleep.
No, I didn't fall asleep. I was just standing on the side of the road.
Where were you when you fell asleep?
I don't know which story you're talking about.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. But no, I was standing on the side of the road when I felt better. I got on the bike and I rode home. And the guy goes, how far did you ride that bike? I said, 6 miles. And he goes, you rode a bike 6 miles after you had a heart attack like we can see on this thing? And I said, yeah. And he goes, why? And I said, it's too far to walk, right? And he just laughed and goes, well, I think we can take stress out of the evaluation. So he told me, he says, I think what you had is a viral heart attack. I said, what's that? He goes, it's a virus. I said, oh, that's why they call those viral heart attacks. He goes, yeah. He says, not too many people get them, but I think that's what happened to you because your heart is as strong as a racehorse's. I said, that's good to know.
No doubt.
But they can see the damage when they do those things, so they know that you didn't make it up.
Well, but only you. And for those listening, when he told me that he had done that, I had the same reaction as the doctor. I was just like, "You did what?" And it was. I told David about it. David said the same thing. He did what? So, yeah.
Well, what else was I going to do? I didn't have any insurance at the time, so I couldn't call 911. My insurance was going to kick in the next month, so I figured, okay, I'll go home and relax.
You're lucky you made it home. I'm forever thankful that you did, because that was your mom, too. So, just saying.
Could be.
You keep your mom busy.
Well, my dad has shown up twice. I think I keep him busy.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
I think my mom just says, let the old man do it. He never did crap for you when you were alive.
I can see that.
My mother and dad didn't get along too good. But me and my dad were great friends the last 12 years. So.
Well, your dad evolved into a really cool guy.
He did. That he did. A lot of that was Vandy's handiwork.
I would say that. It's definite.
Yeah.
Well, it's so rare for us to know that was definitely someone who cared about us. What's one of the issues that happened? What is one of the circumstances when Martin showed up to save you? Martin, your dad.
Oh, Mark,
yes. Where did I get Martin?
Yeah. I don't know. The other time that it happened was in my bedroom. And I'd laid down to go to sleep, and I felt something brush my left ankle. And I thought, it's the comforter falling over, right? Because half the time I leave it folded over and I don't have it on top of me. And then when I roll around, it will fall on me. So I just figured out it's the comforter. And then all of a sudden, I felt the hand grab my ankle and yank me towards the end of the bed. And I mean hard. And I sat up, like, I thought it was a burglar.
I know, right?
All right, so I'm getting ready, and I'm just getting ready to jump out of bed, and I see the back of my father, and whatever this is, and this is for football fans. If you ever watch the offensive tackle pass blocking, that's exactly what it looked like. This thing was trying to get by my dad. My dad was knocking it backwards, and I jumped out of bed to help him, and they both gone.
Crazy.
So, yeah. And I know when I tell people this, they think, oh, you're making it up. You didn't see that. You're trying to make a better story. I don't have to make a better story.
No. I know better.
So much weird crap happened to me in my life.
And I'm going to just put out here that you are one of the most honest people I've ever met in my life. To my knowledge, you have never even embellished anything you told me. And if you tell it to me, I can take it to the bank. So trust him. These experiences are true and real. The thing that I thought, the most interesting thing to me that's happened to you, Limp Castle was pretty much the most extreme case that anybody could have and survive. But I think that what happened to you in that dorm room, because there was you had no clue. There was no history that you were aware of. There's no history you were able to pull when you went looking for it. It was such a visceral experience. You were out of there trying to save someone, which is your natural reaction. And that was freaky,
to say the least.
And you run, and that's who you are, though. You run towards those things as opposed to from them. And that is why I will always investigate with you no matter what, because I know that side of you, that warrior side of you, is always going to win out over trepidation. So,
well, I'm old. I think I'm going to get killed sometime.
Yeah, somebody along the way.
Actually, when Lori Dorsey and I were at the Honorary jail, you were there also, but you had already gone. Lori had really bad feet because she'd had 10-foot operations. And coming down out of the jail, it's kind of got a circular, well, a curved stairway at the end, and it's all cement coming down. And I had gone down. I heard Lori coming, and I was talking to her. And all of a sudden, she's probably 7 or 8 stairs still to go. All of a sudden, I heard this. Somebody just sprinting down the stairs. And I threw my fist up and just ran to the front of the stairs, just waiting to see what came, and nothing happened. And I turned to her and I said, "Did you hear that?" She goes, "Somebody ran right up behind me." I said, "I know, I was waiting for them." Where'd they go? Right? But that was weird.
But that wasn't the only time that experience happened.
No.
Because y'all were at what, Calton Hill?
Yeah, but we were walking, to anybody that knows Calton Hill, we were walking up. It's all the monuments. It overlooks all of Edinburgh and, out into the harbor. And, you can see the cruise ships. You can see Holyrood, which was the Queen's Palace. You can see all down Princess Street and, the whole place. I mean, you can see Edinburgh Castle off of this. It's a fantastic place. Well, Lori and I were walking up the thing, and like I say, Lori had bad feet at the time, but she's been working at it. She'd probably run us into the ground right now.
Probably so, yes.
But we're going up, and the way it is, it's kind of steep. So it's got a handrail right down the middle. So if you're going up on either side, you can use the handrail. And we're on the left side, and we're walking up, and there's nobody else around, right? And I hear a guy right in my ear, on my left ear, go, "Pardon me," like he was mad, right? And I turn around and I look, and I turn back, I look at Lori, I said, "Did you hear something?" She goes, "I heard somebody say, 'Pardon me.'" And I said, "Turn around." She turns around and looks, she goes, "There's nobody here." And we could see like 50 to 60 yards straight down to, because it's just a straight little ramp.
Yeah.
Nobody there. But I mean, right in my ear, "Pardon me," right? So that was weird.
That is so weird. And, the thing in Honorary, there's so many instances where you feel like you're being rushed and then there's nobody there. But that one blew her away. Both of those did. And I just find that so interesting because it blows me away just to hear about them.
Well,
that's just
the one that got me is that Mikey had gone into the courtroom and he was using his DR60 recorder. And I walked in there and everybody's sitting there and he goes, "Tell me what this says," right? And he plays it and he goes, "So what were you charged with?" And I mean, as clear as a bell, the guy goes, "Murder." I mean, you couldn't mistake it for anything else. I was like, wow. Now that was something. But yeah, Honorary courthouse and jail is a pretty interesting place.
Without a doubt. Well, all of the places that we got to investigate seem to have just really surprising things. Aaron, when we were there with the whole group and we were doing the EVP session with Thomas, remember when the gentleman came into the room, you were signing books and we were doing this session, and was it Mikey who had asked the question and got the response right as the door was opening?
Yeah. and he was playing it back, and Thomas opened the door.
Yes.
And just as he opened the door, the recorder says, "Get out." And he goes, "Okay." And he turned around and right back out the door. I mean, it was hilarious. I mean,
it was.
I mean, it sounds like something you make up, but I mean, absolutely happened. I mean, it was hilarious.
And this young man often had to work in this place alone at night. So he was already very respectful of the possibilities that existed for interaction. And he tried very hard to avoid that. And the funniest thing was that he was already he was a whole lot aware of the possibilities. He was a little scared of them too. Because
he was very... Yeah,
yes.
He didn't like the spirits at all.
No. And for the most part, it appeared to me that they had left him alone because they didn't really, he was still able to go in there and work. He was not too afraid to do that. But he did respect that they were there.
Well, you know that place, Earth Castle and the hotel and everything else, went bankrupt, and it's in receivership or whatever they call it over there.
Well, I would not mind buying that castle.
No one either.
I think that would be, because it's so convenient to Edinburgh and close to Roslyn, and it's just lovely. A lot of that,
well,
there's a lot of water damage because of that fire, but with the right money, this too can be yours.
Well, if you just use the hotel to raise the money,
yes,
you'd be okay. But that place was very interesting. Very interesting.
It wasn't. Well, the history of it was very interesting.
Well, what was really interesting there is that I was sitting in the foyer, however you say it, and Lori Dorsey had her SLS camera out. She was mapping everybody. And I noticed she's aiming at me, and she goes, "This will not map you. You do not show up on this." And she tried for half an hour until finally she could see me sitting there. She goes, "Man, that is the weirdest thing I've ever seen." She goes, "I've never seen anybody that I can't map." So I had the same thing happen. This girl asked me to come out and check her house and her apartment in Malibu.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
And I went out there and I checked it and everything else, and she sent me a message. She goes, "This is very strange." She goes, "I have a Ring doorbell. You see me come out. You see me come back in when I came with you, and you see me go back out and then come back in after I walked you out to the car. You're not in any of the Ring stuff." I was like, "What?"
Is there something we don't know?
Yeah, well, you got me. I don't know. But it was strange.
That is so strange. You're the only person I know that's happened with.
Can't see me on Ring. You can't see me on SLS. I should be a burglar.
Well, yeah, that sounds like it would be a career possibility.
Except for I'm slow and my knees creak too much. Everybody catch me.
And you're honest, so.
I am.
But, one of the things that fascinates me is that you have gotten to investigate so many iconic places. And do you still have a bucket list?
Yeah, actually, I really want the 1.5 gallon bucket from Walmart. And
right.
Then there's a stainless steel one that's over at Sears. Those are the buckets.
I like those.
No, actually, I do have things on my bucket list, but not anything that I'm ever going to get to do. Because number one, I would like to do the White House.
Yeah.
Number two, I would like to do the Tower of London. And the other one I would like to do is right down the street from here, and that's where John Holmes, if anybody remembers the movie Wonderland, that's where they killed the people. They beat these 4 or 5 bikers to death with steel pipes. And if there's any place haunted around here, it's going to be that place.
Can you not get in?
I've never been able to contact them. So I went up there and sat outside their apartment one day, or their house one day, waiting for them to come home, and nobody came in. So, but out here the problem is now everybody's charging to get in everywhere. They're charging a lot. And I have to say, you know, I always say that my only superpower is that people are really nice to me. And it's really true because...
Well, it's not your only one.
Well, I don't know if I have another one or not, but I'm glad I got that one.
Well, it's a good one to have.
Of all the places that I've been, I've never paid a penny to get in. I mean, I've been to Banshee Labyrinth. I've been to Balgony a billion times. You know, I've been to the Hellfire Club. I've been to Lep Castle. You know, I've been to Eric Castle. I've been to Inverary. I've been to Blackness. I've been to all these places.
Blackness was cool.
Well, Blackness was cool. One of the weirdest and most haunted places I ever was at was in Yorkshire, England. And it was called Bolton Priory or Bolton Abbey.
I remember that. You telling me about that.
Majorly haunted. Matter of fact, it knocked out one of the people that was with us. And I had to get him on the ground and make sure he wasn't, you know, going into shock. And, you know, all the other people jumped in and we got him back to standing up, you know, about 10 minutes later. You know, so that was good. But, boy, that was a creepy place. Matter of fact, this one girl, Carol Ann Husborough, was there. And I was standing outside. She comes walking out from the Priory because it's all open air, right, because there's no roof on the Priory. And she comes walking through this one section, and she comes out, and she sees me. She walks in, she goes, "How long have you been out here?" I said, "About 15 minutes. She goes, "Oh, boy." I said, "What's the matter?" She goes, "I was coming out of there." She says, "and I saw a big black shape in front of me. You're all in black. I thought it was you. I was following you, and I come around the corner, and you're over here."
Gracious.
Yeah. So, yeah, Bolton Priory was very good. One more I can tell you that was really cool, and there was what was the name of the place, the theater? Norwich Theater. And that was in Liverpool. And I was there as guests of Anubis Paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And Mandy Fellows was the lady who was in charge. And we went into this theater. Now, this wasn't a movie theater. It was a theater where they did plays and things. So they had the big curtains, you know, that you would draw. And they took us downstairs, you know, where you could see the ropes for that and, you know, the electrical stuff. And they had a big, thick pipe that went halfway, you know, to cut you off halfway across so you couldn't go on the other side of that where all the other stuff was. And it's probably about a 10-foot opening. And I'm standing up against the pipe, and other people are coming in, and I turn around and look, and there's somebody standing on the other side of the pipe with his head down like he's looking at a phone or a K2. And I turn around and look at Mandy, and her eyes get real big, and I turn around and look right back, and there's nobody there. Right?
Whoa. Yes.
Yeah. And Mandy looks at me, she goes, "You saw him too, didn't you?" And I went, "Yeah, I did. Could have tapped him on the head. He was that close." But
That's
yeah,
so interesting.
Yeah, that was, I mean, a total full body apparition within, I would say, 4 feet of me.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. But yeah.
And it's even more cool that she saw him too.
Well, I'm glad she saw him. Otherwise, I would have thought I just was seeing things because it was there and then nothing, you know. But I got a good look at him. I mean, for a minute, I thought it was Brian Harley. Right? And I looked back, and Brian's on that side, and Mandy's got the big eyes, and I looked back, because as soon as I saw the look on her face, I knew what was going on. I turned right around, and it couldn't have been 3 to 4 seconds. And there's, like I said, there's nowhere they could have gone over on the other side, because it's closed off, And then we were all standing there, and there's a big pipe. The guy would have to climb over the pipe and everything else. There's no way somebody did that. So
no.
So that was really cool. Matter of fact, it's one of the blurbs on the back of the book where she talks about doing it too. Yeah, I've been very fortunate in my ghost hunting. I've had quite a few really, really big time events happen, you know. And I've had some little events that they really meant a lot, like the girl and her dad, you know.
That was the most special, I think. One of them.
That was really cool. There was something strange. We were at the LAPD Museum the night that Ghost Adventures was showing the episode when they were there. And they had managed to, through their research, find out that a woman had killed herself in the firing range. Now, the firing range is really just like a cinder block alleyway. I mean, it's really maybe 8 feet across. That's all it is, right? And they said her name. Her name was Margaret, right? And none of us knew this. We've been there many times. So we were down where Walter usually shows up, and I said, I'd like to know if there's a woman here who passed away. And I didn't say killed herself. I said passed away purposely. I said who passed away in the firing range. And I said, if you're here, could you tell me your name? And it goes, Margaret. I mean, everybody's jaw just dropped.
No doubt it did.
Yeah, so that's, when you get validation like that, I mean, it's so cool. And they don't have the ghost hunting there anymore. Dang it, I really love going there like every 6 weeks. You know, I'd go there with...
I could see that.
You know, and Christ, it was so much fun. And I miss Walter.
He probably misses you too.
I think I'll go over there one day, just knock on the thing and say, hey, man, can I walk downstairs for just 5 minutes? They'd say, well, I used to run, you know, I didn't run it up, but I was one of the main ghost hunters. And I got to ghost hunt with quite a few people, Patty Negri, Sophia Temporelli, Kristen Lumen, Susan Slaughter, Brandon Alvis, you know, some pretty good ghost hunting people. And actually, Kristen Lumen said something to me that was really cool. We were all walking out, and I said, I'm glad you're walking with me, Kristen, you know, so I get to my car. She goes, what? I said, yeah, I'm kind of a sissy. She goes, no, you're not. It's like, dang it.
Right? Well, I've got to tell you that we are almost out of time. I'm so glad you came on with me because I just love getting a chance to share you with other people.
If you ever want to do one about the house in Texas, I can round up Vandy and cash for you if you ever want to do that.
Oh, I would love to do that because you know what? Between the three of y'all, that would be so many things. So we'll do that one night. We'll see if we can't get everybody together.
Well, I can manage that. I just, you know, call them up and say, hey, we're doing this tonight.
Well, there you go. We will do that.
Yeah, and they have some interesting stories. I mean, you know,
absolutely.
You know, Cash has just started that thing called Cash Talks.
Yeah,
which is his podcast. As a matter of fact, he's got that up on YouTube if you want to see it.
It's a good show too. It's a good interview with you.
And it was his first one, so I thought he did pretty good.
Oh yeah, I did too.
So that's probably something else he's going to do more of it in the future. So,
well, we will.
I mean, he'll probably talk about the fact that he's in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame, you know, stuff like that.
I think that would be fun. I'd just like to get all of y'all in one spot, even if it's just voices. But
I know one thing. I wouldn't want to try and throw him over a fence right now.
I would agree with you. I saw when he was at that awards ceremony. He is a fella. So, but you are too.
He's like a little Brahma bull, is what he's like, except for he's 6 foot tall.
Big Brahma.
Yeah.
But Well, we do have to go, but for everyone listening, thank you so very much. I hope you enjoyed Rick as much as I do. And, coming right behind us here on the UNX network, we have Cryptic Creatures podcast, and that's with Brian and Todd. You're going to love them. They are so good at what they do. Thanks again. Same cat time, same cat channel. See you next time.